Why did I think this was a good idea? The question kept bouncing around in my head as I stood at the front gates of the old Marlowe mansion on Willow Street. The air was thick with fog, swirling like ghosts around my feet, and the wind howled through the trees, sending dead leaves scattering across the ground. I pulled my jacket tighter around me, wishing I had brought something warmer. This house had always been a legend in our town, the kind of place parents warned their kids to stay away from and dared teenagers to explore. A dark, looming structure with broken windows and ivy crawling up its sides. It looked like something out of an old horror movie. The perfect setting for a Halloween adventure, or so I'd thought. I had convinced myself earlier that evening that this would be fun. A little thrill, a bit of an adrenaline rush. After all, how scary could an abandoned house really be? But now, staring up at its towering, shadowed shape, I wasn't so sure. My heart was pounding so loudly I could barely hear the distant sounds of trick-or-treaters laughing somewhere far away. I glanced at my phone. Midnight. Of course, it had to be midnight when I finally worked up the nerve to come here. Classic horror movie timing. I took a deep breath, then pushed open the rusty gate with a loud, creaking groan that made me jump. The front door was ajar, swinging slightly on its hinges as if it were breathing. I hesitated, my flashlight casting a narrow beam of light that barely pierced the darkness inside. Swallowing hard, I stepped over the threshold. The air inside was stale, filled with the scent of dust and decay. I could hear the faint drip of water somewhere in the distance, the sound echoing through the halls. The floorboards creaked under my feet, each step a loud protest against the quiet of the house. The flashlight's beam wavered, and I tried to steady my hand. As I moved further into the entryway, I could feel the temperature drop, an icy chill seeping into my bones. I shivered, but it wasn't just from the cold. Something felt off, like I was being watched. The first room I entered was a parlor, its wallpaper peeling and stained with age. A fireplace stood against one wall, its mantel covered in a thick layer of dust. Old, cracked furniture sat draped in sheets, as if waiting for someone to come back and use them. I heard a faint whisper, but when I turned, there was no one there. Just shadows. Long, twisting shadows. I shook my head, laughing nervously to myself. It's just an old house, I whispered. Nothing here but dust and memories. But the house seemed to disagree. I felt a cold breeze brush past my cheek, and the door behind me slammed shut with a deafening bang. I jumped, my heart racing, and tried to laugh again, but it came out as more of a squeak. Okay, that was weird, I muttered, turning back to the door. I grabbed the doorknob, twisting it, but it wouldn't budge. Great, just great. Locked in. I took a deep breath and turned to face the room again. Maybe there was another way out. I moved toward a doorway on the opposite side of the room, stepping over a broken vase and some scattered papers. The hallway beyond was darker, the shadows thicker, almost alive. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, my breath coming in short gasps. I saw a staircase to my left, its banister cracked and splintered. At the top, a faint light flickered, a candle maybe? I couldn't see the source, but it was moving like someone was carrying it. I hesitated. I was alone. I was definitely alone, right? Curiosity won over fear, and I found myself climbing the stairs, each step creaking under my weight. As I reached the top, the light vanished. The hallway stretched out before me, long and narrow, with doors on either side. I chose one at random and pushed it open. Inside was a child's bedroom, or what was left of it. A small bed sat against the wall, its sheets yellowed and torn. A dusty rocking horse sat in the corner, and as I stepped closer, it began to move just slightly, back and forth, back and forth. My breath caught in my throat. Suddenly, I heard a soft giggle, high and faint, like a child's laugh. I turned around quickly, shining my flashlight in every direction, but there was no one. Just the empty room and the rocking horse, moving slowly. I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. I'm not afraid, I whispered, but my voice was shaking. I backed out of the room, my flashlight flickering again. I could hear something now, something faint and distant. Music. An old, scratchy tune, like a lullaby playing on a gramophone. It was coming from somewhere down the hall. I followed the sound, my steps tentative, the floor groaning underfoot. The music grew louder, more distinct, and I could hear a voice singing along, low and soft. I turned a corner and saw another door slightly ajar, light seeping out from the crack beneath it. I reached for the handle, hesitating for a moment, then pushed it open. Inside, I saw an old gramophone spinning, but there was no record on it. The needle moved, but the disc was blank, and the music played on. The room was empty except for a single chair facing a large, cracked mirror. As I approached, I saw something reflected that made my blood run cold. A figure stood behind me, just over my shoulder. A woman in a long, flowing dress, her face pale, her eyes dark and hollow. I spun around, but there was no one there. I turned back to the mirror, and she was gone. I didn't wait to see what would happen next. I ran down the stairs, through the parlor, back to the front door. This time, it opened with ease, swinging wide as if welcoming me to leave. I burst outside, the cool night air filling my lungs, and I didn't stop running until I was back on the street. I turned back once, just in time to see the front door close slowly, as if the house were exhaling a sigh of relief. I stood there, panting, my heart racing, my hands trembling. I could still hear the faint echo of that eerie lullaby, drifting on the wind. I glanced back at the house one last time, and I swore I saw a figure standing in the window, watching me with hollow eyes. I turned and ran, vowing never to set foot on Willow Street again. But even now, as I write this, I can't shake the feeling that something followed me home, something that wants me to come back. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching.